Martini in the morning.com. Bill A. Jones from which album is that from?
I've heard that song, Big Band Songbook.
You, you do the big band stuff like nobody's business.
Very
Didn't you
nice.
just
That's
do
very
a?
nice.
Didn't you just do a run?
I just came back. Yeah, I was up in Northern California. I was performing with the tour of Battle of the Big Bands.
Really?
Yes, battleofthebigbands.com. For that particular show, and they're talking about bringing it to Southern California and to Arizona and some other areas. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We were doing, and by the way, hello to all the people on the World Wide Web. I'm waving at the camera because you got the camera fixed.
Well, as a matter of fact, that's right. You haven't been in since it's sort of fixed. We're in the process of healing Martini Vision.
Healing,
but
yes.
and we're now at 2 cameras. We'll soon be 3. We have the camera you're on now is that one up there.
Oh, that one. Okay,
Yes, there you go.
up there. Okay, I'll wave at that one.
You know all about cameras and camera shots.
A little bit, yeah.
How's that going?
I'm a lucky son of a gun. I really am. If one thing is dead in my career, then the other thing sort of picks up. Fortunately, and so far, we haven't been kicked out of our house yet. So I'm very grateful. I've got a couple of commercials running actually right now.
I heard about one. It was a football. So it was running.
I bet it was the golf thing. I'll bet.
Yes,
You're
that's
thinking
what
of
it was.
the
Golf.
thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I was talking with a lady just yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I watch golf all the time on the weekends." She said, "What have you been doing lately?" I said, "Well, I've got blah 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 blah, and I've got a couple of commercials running." And she said, "Yeah, I watch golf all the time." I said, "Well, there's this commercial for FedEx, and it's this rich, very bad golfer." With his caddy in tow, and he keeps making horrible shots, and I'm the bad golfer, and I keep saying over and over again, "Don't count that."
I saw the commercial online. I looked it up, and there's a website where you can.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a couple of places that's up. Yeah, if you just go to Google and type in FedEx, don't count that, it comes up.
Yeah,
it does. It's crazy.
Bill A. Jones on MartiniInTheMorning.com, and the thing that I assume the thing you were talking about is you said some things become dead in your career, and others become but Glee is in its last.
Glee is in its last season. It's a shortened season. It's a 13-episode season instead of the usual 22 that they have been doing up to this point. Basically, Fox is allowing the production to be wrapped up in a very dignified and fun manner, and there are going to be some fun things in the last season. I got an email from my friend Jane Lynch just yesterday. She sent me a picture of something, and I cannot talk about any of it. I have signed a little thing called a non-disclosure agreement, but it should be fun. And to answer the question, I don't know if I'm going to be in the last season yet or not. I've been in every season up to now. It's been a nice run. I've had 15 episodes. I'm very, very grateful.
What was the last episode with you and you were Jane Lynch's love interest on the show?
Yeah. Yeah, and in the first season, I had the pleasure of doing that, and then they had me do a lot of other stuff. I was a celebrity judge. They had me as the quiz master in the local academic decathlon shows, and I thank you, Brad Falchuk and Ian Brennan and of course the big man Ryan Murphy for gracing me with this role, which grew to be larger than originally envisioned. I've been told, and that is what happened, and it's been a very wonderful ride. But that show is coming to an end, and so that's the way it goes.
So other things are picking up for you?
Yeah, there are some things in the works. I did a pilot. I sort of swallow and gulp and go. I actually starred in a pilot recently called Captain Bill's Fun Ship. And you'll remember the old local kid shows
Sure.
in Nashville. There was a guy named Bob Lobertini who used to do one called Captain Bob. Well, anyway, this is sort of a riff off of that. The conceit is that these are newly discovered videotapes found in a Foot Locker from 1962 from Tampa, Florida. And Captain Bill's show these days, when you air these videotapes, is politically totally incorrect, and it's just all wrong, and so the producer is trying to find someone to air that sucker right now. So we'll see.
Bill A. Jones, and when he's not on a set in front of the camera, he's singing big band songs, in this case with Bonnie Bowden. Tangerine, Bill A. Jones on MartiniInTheMorning.com. MartiniInTheMorning.com with Bonnie Bowden. It's Bill A. Jones and Tangerine on MartiniInTheMorning.com. We were just talking about that song the other day because we were playing a song written by Johnny Mercer and Victor Scherzinger, and I knew he had written something else that we knew. He wrote tons of movie music, but more like scores and that sort of thing. But he wrote
Tangerine.
Yes, indeed he did. Yeah. It's Martini in the Morning. You're playing at Catalina Jazz Club.
Catalina Jazz Club, October 29th. It's a week from tonight, and I would dearly love everyone in the Los Angeles area. Actually, if you're not in the Los Angeles area, you want to fly in, you've got time to get a ticket. You know what I'm saying here? We would love all of you to come and see me.
I am flying in for the show.
Well, lovely. Yeah, you're coming back from Boise?
Yeah, the show's Wednesday, and I get back in. I'll be back here in the studio on Tuesday. It's Bill A. Jones. You know, it's funny when we played some of the music last time you were in. I kind of know the big band stuff because I played in a big band while I was in school playing the trumpet. Not well, but they let me be in the band, and partially because I helped them get some bookings and stuff. But anyway, we always had a great time playing big band tunes. But I never really knew back then the difference. But I mean, there was there was the Glenn Miller stuff, and there was the Benny Goodman stuff, and then there was the
Tommy Dorsey
stuff.
But
who else?
Harry James.
Harry James.
Yeah.
You do on one of the songs. You do the All or Nothing at All. That's the Harry James version.
That is actually the Jimmy Dorsey version.
See?
See
what I mean?
You see, most people do the Harry James version, which they associate with Frank Sinatra's first recorded hit.
Right.
And it is, if you go back and look at the archives. And oddly enough, Columbia Records, Harry James's label at the time, didn't care very much for Frank Sinatra, and they just sort of shelved that thing for several years. But then there was a recording band. They needed to pull out old
there was
material.
Basically a strike.
A strike where the musicians couldn't go in the studios. And by that time, Sinatra had become a tremendous hit with Tommy Dorsey.
Right.
And Columbia pulled it out, and it was a big hit.
40 or 41, I think. He recorded it in 38.
38 or 39, something like that.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
There's a funny story. If you go to on our website in the interview, and by the way, if you miss any of our interviews, if you want to listen to our previous interview with Bill, go to martiniinthemorning.com, click interviews, and you can listen to. We've got a full. I wish we had everything, but we've got most of the interviews.
You've got an amazing archive.
One of the interviews we did the last interview with. Now I'm forgetting his name.
You haven't had enough coffee.
Jack Lawrence.
Oh, Jack Lawrence,
who wrote All or Nothing at All.
Yeah.
And he tells the funniest story. He said he was in the studio with Frank Sinatra when he recorded All or Nothing at All. And he said, and here's Frank Sinatra. This is 38 or 39, so he's in his
skinny kid.
Yeah, he's in his 20s. So he walks over to Jack Lawrence, this great songwriter. Jack was pretty well established already. He walks over to Jack and he says, "So what do you think?" And Jack said, "Well," and Jack starts telling him, giving him a little critique on the recording. And Frank Sinatra said, "You're critiquing me?" and he walked away. But it was a funny.
Even then,
it was very early. I mean, he was so he was born. Sinatra was born at 15, so. 38, he was 23.
Something like that, yeah.
Is that right? 24 years old? You're critiquing me? It's martiniinthemorning.com. Bill A. Jones, you dedicated this album.
Yeah, the newer album, I've heard that song, Big Band Songbook. I got a Facebook post from a friend from high school, and she married a career military man. And I guess I'll just mention her name if she happens to be listening. Kate Cannon was her high school name, as I remember it. Goldthorpe, I think, is the last name now. And she was commenting about how happy she was. She had spent time with her husband, and the next day, the next day he was coming home from the third deployment over in the Middle East. Third deployment, can you imagine that? And I was in the middle of recording this album, and a couple of the tunes just really struck home as still being incredibly appropriate, not just timepieces from the World War II era about the reuniting of loved ones. You were talking about that story earlier today, about the kid and his father, and the idea of going away and hoping that your love doesn't get sniped by some opportunistic person, So Both It's Been a Long, Long Time and Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree are specific to that. But yeah, the CD is dedicated to the men and women of the armed forces.
Bill A. Jones on MartiniInTheMorning.com from his album. I've heard that song. MartiniInTheMorning.com, Bill A. Jones. Who are the ladies?
I want to say hi to a couple of them. My friend Dina Bennett put together the arrangement for that, changing the 4-part Modern Airs harmony from the original Glenn Miller into 3 parts. And it's Dina, who is currently on tour in the national production of Wicked, and they're coming back to the Pantages soon. So Dina Bennett. Cassie Miller, who a lot of people in music know in this town. Cassie recently had some physical challenges, had a stroke, and she's recovering greatly. And Cassie, if you're listening, hello, darling, I love you. And a wonderful singer named Kara Shaw backing me up on that. And just a lot of fun, and we'll dedicate that to all the men and women of the armed forces. So something's making a noise over there.
I know. All of a sudden, my computer decides it wants to work.
You know, it's ironic because the majority of this music on the big band CD, I'm not doing at Catalina Jazz Club. I'm not. I'm not working with a big band over there.
Does it make these? Is it difficult to take a big band chart and do it with a smaller?
You know, when you do it with 6 pieces, if you try to cut it down, there are compromises. I mean, you can do a standard with 3-horn arrangement, and I've got an arranger that I'm working with, who I'm seeing later today, Paul McDonald. He's my conductor and piano player, and he's working on these things. There's certain compromises, and it's just not the same. It's not the same. You can do something different. What you do is you arrange it from the ground up for 3 horns, and it comes out great. And so most of the material I'm doing at Catalina a week from tonight is not the big band stuff. There's a couple of songs in there. I'm going to do a version of Nightingale Sang, which is a little different from the Glenn Miller arrangement, what we're going to do with it. And then the wonderful old Harry Woods tune, River Stay Way.
You had an opportunity. We've talked about this before, but you had an opportunity in your old hometown to. Well, that song kind of hit home.
Yeah, I did. It did. You know, I recorded that for a TV pilot. Yet another TV pilot that's yet to be picked up. There's a recurring theme here.
Hey, on that subject, just as a sidebar, I was looking. I had a fellow call me a week or so ago. Suzanne Summers, bless her heart.
She mentioned you on national TV.
She was on Live with Regis and Live with whatever it's called
Kelly
this week.
What's his
Kelly
name?
and Michael
Yes,
Strahan.
right,
Oh, bless her heart. I shouldn't say. I don't mean to say anything bad about the show,
Yes.
but anyway. So Suzanne was on. Josh Groban was co-hosting, filling in for Michael that day, and Suzanne mentioned Martini in the Morning, and we got a call the next day from. We started hearing from TV producers wanting to know about the show and about Mother Miriam and about how this all came. Anyway, so I'm looking one fellow up that had phoned and on the Internet Movie Database, and they listed like 32 completed pilots that this guy had produced, directed, or written, 32. None of which ever made it to television. 32 unaired TV pilots.
Welcome to Hollywood, folks.
Yeah. So you did River Stay Away From.
Yeah, that was for a pilot for a show called Music That Cooks, and the Rex Merriweather Big Band was featured. I was a guest, basically cooking up my favorite meal. And then getting to sing with this, great big band, and I recorded it, and I felt weird about it because about 2 weeks later, they had massive floods in Nashville, my old hometown. Massive floods. The house that I grew up in flooded. The church that I walked late to on Sunday mornings got flooded. I mean, just horrible devastation. The Opry House flooded. There famous pictures of that. And so I felt weird about it. Time goes by. I'm recording this album, and happenstance, the producers gave me the rights to that song that I could use it, and individual downloads of that particular song goes to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund, and a portion of CD sales as well.
That's a great cause. Bill A. Jones on Martini in the Morning. MartiniInTheMorning.com. Very familiar with those rivers around Nashville from my time there. Bill A. Jones on MartiniInTheMorning.com. The show at Catalina Jazz Club 1 week from tonight.
1 week from tonight, you can call for reservations, area code 323-466-2210, or go to BillAJones.com, and I've shamelessly got all kinds of information about how you can buy tickets or make a reservation on the webpage, BillAJones.com.
One more from Bill A. Jones. We'll talk a little bit more about Bill, about the club. That's coming up on MartiniInTheMorning.com. MartiniInTheMorning.com. Bill A. Jones, Nightingale sang in Barclay Square. So you're going to do that, but a little different arrangement.
I will be doing that differently. I'm
That's
working
such a great song.
It's just romantic. You know, it's just I love that song. I've loved it forever. Nat Cole did a fabulous version of that, and that's the Miller version. But yeah, we're doing something different. We're working with six pieces. My arranger is Paul McDonald, who a lot of people know here in town from his pedigree. A guy from Great Britain, originally worked for the BBC arranging, and then later worked on the cruise ships, and then landed out here. And I've got amazing musicians who are joining me. Ernie Nunez on bass. I've got Gary Gibbons on drums. I love Gary. He's a singer's drummer. You know, I was talking about this off microphone just a moment ago. And the horn section, I have an amazing horn section. Dean Rubacek is my tenor sax man, and Dean is one of these guys who's worked with everyone over the years. The man just brings it. He just brings it. On trombone, I've got Dwayne Benjamin, who occasionally, with his own orchestra, steps out under the name of the Benjamin Orchestra.
Benjamin,
and then Ann King, who is always coming off tour with someone or another. She just recently came off tour with Rod Stewart. She's on trumpet, and so it's a marvelous assemblage of musicians, it's the name of the show is Frank, Bobby, and Me. Of course, talking about Frank and Bobby, we're referring to Frank Stallone and Bobby Caldwell. They're great singers, they are, but no. Frank, Bobby, and Me, sort of an autograph of. Basically, we're talking about the great gentlemen, in addition to those, of song, who've been an influence to guys like me and lots more. And we're doing those songs in salute, and it's going to be a special evening. It's going to be a special evening.
1 week.
And I have a special guest. I forgot to tell you.
Who?
I have a special guest. One of whom I cannot tell you because they're not confirmed yet. The other I can confirm, and it's Brad Ellis from Glee. Brad is the ubiquitous piano player on Glee. In real life, he not only plays piano. He's a marvelous musical director. He's worked with people like Jason Alexander and Kristen Chenoweth in the past, and these days he's a musical director for Matthew Morrison, whom you play here on MartiniInTheMorning.com.
Mr. Schuster.
Yes, Mr. Schu, absolutely. Yeah. And so he's been working a lot with Matthew, touring all over. He did the National Symphony just recently. He's my guest. We're going to do a little duet together, and then I'm going to turn him loose for a song.
Who's the one you can't tell us about?
Yeah. There you go.
I thought I might catch it. This is the one I was thinking of. You corrected me last time you were on, because I thought it was the Glenn Miller version. This is the Glenn Miller version. You got it last. I'm so confused.
You meant to bring in All or Nothing at All. That's what you were talking about.
I don't know.
That I did I did the Jimmy Dorsey version because Bob Eberly was a very big vocalist at the same time and recorded his version of that song, which we'll do for another day.
Bill A. Jones, 1 week from tonight, Catalina Jazz Club in Hollywood, and I hope back here soon.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. I honor you, Mother Miriam, and all the forces behind MartiniInTheMorning.com. You're keeping this fabulous music alive and introducing it to a whole new audience. And I bow before you, and I thank you for your service.
It's you, because if you weren't recording these songs, what would we play? I mean, that's the whole point. Getting guys like you out in front of a new audience, that's what keeps it going. Bill A. Jones on MartiniInTheMorning.com. We'll see you next Wednesday night, Catalina Jazz Club.
At last, my love has come along.